Timmons Roberts. I want to thank Senator Conley for being the lead sponsor on the Resilient Rhode Island Act that really got this all going 3 years ago. So that's Senator Conley for introducing this awesome piece of legislation. So I've been working, my name is Timmons Roberts. I'm a professor at Brown University. I'm speaking for myself today. I'm also bringing some students and myself work as sort of technical support for the Energize bill. We've been working on this for 3 years. We have done a lot of research. I've been working on climate change for 25 years. And if anything, the science that we based the Resilient Rhode Island Act on has gotten more extreme. I would very much beg to differ with our earlier statement from Brian, who has unfortunately left. But we'll hear from a geologist from Brown, Tim Herbert, pretty soon, who can brief us on how, the situation. I'm on the EC4's staff, the Scientific and Technical Advisory Board. Maybe not the best acronym. So when you're the staff of EC4, and the idea of that, remember when we talked about the EC4 and the Resilient Rhode Island Act, that it needed to have advisory boards of citizens and then one of scientists to keep the science up to date, say what's happening. So there are substantial impacts. We really don't know when they're coming, but they are coming. Whether the sea level rise of 9 feet comes at the end of this century, as the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and our CRMC is now saying, or whether it comes later, we still have to start planning for it. Upland flooding, during like the March 2010 flood, Hurricane Sandy, stronger hurricanes, heat waves, rising temperatures, risk to property, infrastructure, farming, and fisheries. Our state's economy and our quality of life is really at stake. Happy to provide more details. The EC4 staff did a PowerPoint at the EC4 meeting. Happy to send that along if that would be useful. I think there's about 12 substantive PowerPoint slides, but you guys don't want to hear that, it's late. So,
well, that'd be great. We'd like to have it, though.
Yeah, and I want to also mention that this study that you heard about tonight was a major step forward. It identified the technologies that we needed and to get us to meet those targets that were established of 80% emission reductions by 2050. We need all of those technologies. However, doing any of that requires incentives, and it requires funding. And so our plan here is this Energize Act collects a fee on carbon emissions in the state, that is the burning of any fossil fuels. It gives 70% of the money right back to people, as Senator Calkins said, in a check to individuals and then also to companies on a per employee basis by FTE. So we're going to hear more about that from some of our experts and coalition members. But it will invest money back in the state. Right now we're spending almost $4 billion a year on fossil fuel energy, of which we produce nothing here. That money is just pouring through our fingers. We can reduce our waste, and we can create jobs here saving that money. What would this bill do for emissions? Just by putting a price on carbon that's specified in the bill, we would reduce our emissions by about 33%. That would get us about halfway to the emissions reductions that are on the road down, if you look at the modeling. We have commissioned a study that we paid for with a small grant from Rhode, the Regional Economic Models. We'll hear more about that in a minute. But that study showed that our emission reductions would get us about halfway there. And that's just with the pricing part of this, without actually the other part.
Dr., can you amplify on that 33% reduction? Just amplify on that.
So REMI has a complex economic model. I know they're used by state governments and local governments around the country to figure out what's going to happen with, if they put in a new tax or change a tax or create a new program. So their models estimated also what's going to happen to people's decision making. If there's a price on carbon, right now we all get sort of a free ride when we pollute with carbon. That is, the costs are borne by other people, and nobody, and as a burner of fossil fuel, I don't have to pay. So this would start at, Energize Rhode Island would start at $15 a ton the first year. So that's about 13.8 cents a gallon of gas or heating oil. So is that a lot? Well, it's not so much. But the hope is that it's predictable.
The individual buy-in that you're part of it, not following that directly.
Right, and at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, you can get a check for a certain amount of money that you could invest how you want to save money and try to not burn as much fossil fuels. but also it's a price signal. I think that's what conservatives and progressives are saying, that this is sending a signal in the least intrusive way. It's setting up putting more of a price on carbon so that it's including some of those costs that otherwise we're dumping on everybody else. Even the World Bank and the IMF are pushing countries to take on carbon tax right now. And we saw it in the Republican, sort of the gray backs, or what do they call silverbacks of the Republican Party. The conservative case for carbon dividends in the Economist magazine anyway are saying this is the least intrusive way to do this. So I'm happy to go on with that. And this raising this model that we set aside 25%, that would give 70% back, but 25% into a clean energy and jobs fund. And that money could be used for weatherization of low-income housing in the state, which is always one of the hardest things to get to, for people that don't get taken care of. Also to small businesses was where it would start, but it could be used for renewable energy and all kinds of great projects. In fact, the infrastructure bank, created by the support of the Senate Green Jobs Program a couple years ago, or was that just last year? It's been a busy year. A lot has happened. So that program has a lot of great parts to it, but they need funding. And so this would generate about $35 to $40 million in the first year that could go into those infrastructure bank projects. Right now, there's only about $6 million that they allotted to that program.